You know the phrase that pays kakank. Well, hello. Oh man, you know what's about to happen. It's magic time. What is it? What did it say? Showtime, everyone. Showtime synergy. Showing my age. We're one man down, but we are never out, guys. Welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. That's right, expert cartoonists are in the building. I need maybe I don't, but I need an air horn. You don't want me to have an air horn. Let's not expense that into the show budget. Let's tell you what's going on here. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, your three expert well, it's two this week, but your three expert cartoonists, myself, that guy right there, Stone Cold Steve Conley, and the mercurial Mike Manley, come together. We form a Voltron, so to speak, of cartooning knowledge and ensorcel you with our matinee idol, good looks, lantern jaws, and expert wisdom about any and everything about the cartooning profession. Let's do some introductions. My name is Jamar Nicholas. I am your first co-host. I wear many hats besides this. I am on the board of the National Cartoonist Society. There's only one board of the National Cartoonist Society. There's not a lot of boards. There's only one board. And also doing double duty as the chapter chair of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I also, you'll love to hear this, Stone Cold. My next book in my Scholastic Graphics series, Leon and the Big Big Problem, has just gone to print. I got the signal flare went up yesterday. We're going to print. If there's anything you want to change, it's too late. It's going to print.
I hear it has a cover.
Damn it! I did it again. You know, I'm sure at this point, if you're interested at all, you've seen the cover of this book. So, Steve Conley, what should they do before it comes out January 2027?
It is inexcusable if they do not cop it. Why don't they?
What don't you? What are you doing? As my mother would say, correct your actions, fix your face. Steve, wash your face and let's go. Fix it. I would be I would be remiss. Holy crap, that's great. That's fantastic. I would be remiss. I would be in remission if I did not introduce my cohort, co-conspirator, and co-conquistador. You may have seen him walking through the internet superhighway. You know, sometimes it's only a one stoplight town, but it's all interconnected. With a melodic tinkle at his back, he's one of your favorite web cartoonists, and he's definitely mine. By God, it must be Stone Cold Steve Conley. What's up, Steve Conley?
I want to say gentleman. It is good to see you. I miss Mike.
Yes.
As we were saying, he is on assignment, undisclosed location. He's undoubtedly pencil shavings deep in some work right now.
I love it.
But my name is Steve Conley. I write and draw your 34th favorite webcomic, The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. It's on Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comics. Almost every place you turn your gaze upon the internet, you'll find my webcomic there. And if you don't like it, don't read it. But it's going to be there. It's waiting for you. But I also make D&D stuff. My latest book, Stabber Cadabra, is finally coming back from the printers. They gave me a shipping update that says it's shipped today, so I won't have it this weekend at Heroes Con, where I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice.
But I will be standing next to you. Just look for, when you enter the hall at HeroCon, look for Tom Zoller. He's about 64 apples tall, I believe. And to his immediate right, you can find me.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I want to introduce Mike Manley. Aw.
Well, I mean, you didn't introduce me when I wasn't here. You just rolled over me, I'm sure.
So, mostly weeping.
Our good buddy Uncle Mike, Tio Mike says, and I'll apply this to both of us. The beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid. We must cop that book. We must answer. That is one of my favorite Lord of the Rings quotes. Gondor calls for aid. Did I do it right? And Rohan calls for aid and Gondor. I messed it up. I guess it wasn't my favorite quote. I screwed it all up. The light out of my eyes. Oh, Gondor calls for aid and Rohan must answer. Guys,
I don't know what that's from. I don't know what that's.
It's for the Matrix. Duh. Guys, we have a really great show for you tonight. We're one man down, but we're always down to please and give you the pinch. The pinch me, I must be dreamings. You know the goosies. You get them when you see me on your video scope. I'm just going to leave this Conley 316 up here all day. We're just going to jump right into it. I'm very excited to come back to you for a very like a casual. This is like a casual Wednesday. We've had a couple of really kind of like intense episodes lately, right?
Oh.
This will be kind of like, I don't know, like an intermission or kind of like a, like a cool down, as we say in gaming world. We're on a cool down right now. But what we're bringing to you today is one of my favorite pencil to pencil tropes. As a cartoonist. As a cartoonist. I really need a soundboard, Steve Conley. As a cartoon. Yes, as a cartoonist is when if you're watching live on your video scope, watching your two expert cartoonists, you get to ask us questions. Besides our lousy chat, and I don't mean lousy in a bad way, I mean lousy with working professional cartoonists, and a lot of people are all in the middle of that. I think we keep a pretty interesting company, Steve Conley, but outside of our circles, how many like civilians just know a cartoonist, right? And if they do, I'm sure they don't even understand what they're doing. Like that guy never leaves the house and he doesn't wear pants. He says he's a cartoonist, but I don't know what that means. So you get a chance to ask us your burning questions. And, I think, and I say this once in a while, you guys, that sometimes I think like you might get used to us. You know what I mean? What is it kind of like Nightingale syndrome? You're so used to us that, I hope you love us, but you may, like, oh, you know what? Stone Cold and Mike and JN will always be here. I don't have any questions. I just want to hang out and watch. Ask us a question. Right? Steve, what do you think about Ask the Cartoonist episodes? Do you find a pressure with that kind of stuff? Do you like to have another moment to talk? Because I suck up a lot of air on this show.
Oh no, I love it because um, as you know, as running the board and seeing the behind the scenes, a lot of questions come in and we don't always get a chance to answer them. The system here doesn't really give us, we use StreamYard. You might see a link pop up during the stream talking
Mm,
about that. But it doesn't let us archive questions from week to week. So we're kind of starting fresh each time. We do try to jot some down in between weeks, or it gives us a suggestion or an idea for a topic that we might address in the future. But I think Ask the Cartoonist often helps us clear out that backlog and make sure people who do have questions get them asked, get some answered. Because also sometimes a really good question comes in, and we've already pencils are already down. We're already
yeah.
putting on our hat and coat and ready to go.
It's very Ditko, right? He's just very Kirby. Put your fedora on the hook, roll up the sleeves, and do a day's work. But until those questions start rolling in, I'm just going to fill the air because I'm good with that. So I'll start off by talking about. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm sitting right. I'm not sitting pretty today, Steve Conley. And the reason for that is, and I was telling Steve this when we were in the green room. I record this fine program at. I have two desks in my studio, as you can see, and I feel like I've been like showing you my ass for like 8 years on the internet. There was a period, Steve, where I was super self-conscious. I'm still self-conscious, but I was super self-conscious of doing video, not because of this. Like this is the money right here.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
good. I'm good with that. It
yeah.
was more like, I don't know if you need to like but over time, and I used to really be into, I love a good studio interview when you get to see a cartoonist workspace and you
Right.
get to go, oh wow, look at, there's a globe in the background and look at that bay window and there's all of these like books. Oh my god, I wish I could
Mm.
dot dot dot. So I'm very like I've had lots of studio spaces. Sometimes they were like a corner of the kitchen, right? I know that not everybody has their own space like that, and I get that, and I remember that. Sometimes you don't have anything. Sometimes you go to the coffee shop, but because I'm fortunate enough to have this working space, I want try to make it as like good as I can. You know what I mean? And not to say I'm flexing, but I don't mind showing off my space, and maybe that would inspire somebody. But anyway, all that lore uh, behind us. I have two desks in my space. I have this desk, which is like a task desk, and my actual drafting table back there. Since I've been working digitally so long, and here's my Huey on right here, I kind of switched positions, pause. And I rarely sit at my drafting table. So you can even see I kind of like leveled it off. And there's like a monitor back there now. And I do everything here. But this is also one of those like, what do you call it? Like the Crank That Soldier Boy table. Like it like goes up and down.
Sure.
And I found myself starting to get a little, I dare to say lazy. Like I could I sit and the thing is low, and I kind of just like I'm in the we're in these chairs for a
Mm.
long time, right? But I found like I wasn't kind of like stimulating the area like I used to. So I was like, you know what? Let me break this cycle. Let me like put some height on this table. So it made me stand up because that's kind of what is like a standing desk, or it can be a sitting desk. And since I did this the other day, I've like cleaned my office, right? And I'm like moving stuff around. I went over there and I actually put a Clorox wipe to a surface. It was amazing. So anyway, I had asked Steve, how do you kind of like navigate your studio space? Like, do you kind of actively work in it, and when you're not working, you turn the light off and you leave it? Do you just kind of live in the sauce that is your studio, and they have to kind of drag you out of it at night? How do you treat your space?
I kind of have multiple. I'm working almost all the time, and it's uh, and partly I bring my work with me whichever room or building I'm in. So I have this space here where I'm kind of anchored. It's my iMac, my Cintiq, assorted hard drives and gadgets, printers and scanners and scales. And it's also fulfillment. On that side of the over there is shelving units with my stock.
It's the mailroom, right?
Yeah, it is the mailroom.
Yeah.
This is the warehouse and shipping department as well. But pretty much everywhere my iPad goes is where my work can go. So when my lady comes home, or in the middle of the day when I need a break, a change of scenery, if the weather's good, I will go to a coffee shop or something like that, sit in a corner, drink coffee, and work there. I like that change of pace. I'm definitely an introvert, but I like to go out.
Yeah, I get that.
So that recharges my batteries. I also know getting sunlight, not being focused in on this really tight space is so bad for our eyes. To be, 18 focal inches away at all times just does bad things for our eyes. So I'm not sure what all these hand gestures were.
No, I was about to make something dirty out of focal inches, but I left it alone.
I make sure I throw things like focal in there just to kind of trip you up.
My back of my neck was itching when you said that. I was like,
but where until the iPad runs out of juice and I got to plug myself in somewhere. So that's my routine.
That's interesting because like I've said a couple of times that I think it's very cool to be able to have a space where you ply your trade. Just in the 2020s, whatever, where everything's at a premium. And I don't live in New York. I've had lots of New Yorker friends over my life, and I've been in New York apartments, and like New Yorkers are like must be Tetris experts, because I don't know how you make that work, bro.
Right.
you put that together. I remember I was out visited, and we were like in Flatbush at a Target, like buying like toilet paper and like I don't know, like a bookshelf. You get on a train, you take it back to Brooklyn, and it's just like what? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting excitable. The idea that you now, and I think this is one of the cool things and interesting things about being a full-time professional cartoonist, is that there's not a lot of separation of church and state. You wake up, you go to sleep, in that in between you were probably working.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's really cool that you say, sometimes I need a break and I'll get up and go to a coffee shop. They just opened a really dope coffee shop around the corner from my house. I've been in it twice. And I was just like, oh, and even some of the neighbors were like, hey, we know you like coffee. Here's a gift card. I'm like,
well, let me ask you. You're now in this part where book 3, which I'm sure everyone already has pre-ordered, of Leon is on its way to press.
Yeah.
What is your what mode are you in now? Are you now in promotion mode? Is there kind of a window here between or when was the last time you touched the book? And now that it's gone to the press, when is the next step for you in the process of Leon?
So yes. So what has been happening over the past couple of months is a lot of editorial. So like say I turned in the way the process works with my contract, and it's different for everyone, is that I because I write it, I also draw it, and I am contractually obligated to turn in all of those kind of like story materials and then also finished art. And between that process, also I am laying out the word balloons. I do balloon placement, and also I turn in the dialogue, which is the script. I have a colorist, and there's also somebody who letters the project. So I'm kind of like done, so to speak, when I turn in the finished inks. So every one of these books since the first one, which was 262 pages, something like that. It was almost like 270, I can't remember.
Wow.
Have been like 240. Right. So that's just a heavy lift in itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Between that and the covers and all that other kind of stuff, you finally get this stuff in. And after that is editorial. So I get which is kind of cool. I would say, kind of as a kind of like a Hollywood term, I get to look at dailies, Steve Conley. So every so often, I get an email from one of my editors who's like, "Here's the latest pass.
Hmm.
Take a look at it, and when can you get this back to me? Like in a week or something like that." So what that is a PDF with markups of things that are being questioned by maybe the publisher, who also is one of my editors, or there are copy editors. There are also readers. Like, I don't know who these people are. There's just like initials
Hmm.
and things that are circled and little comment flags all over the book.
So you're getting this as a PDF?
hmm
Okay.
hmm So my main editor is kind of like answering a lot of that stuff and giving responses. And then there's parts like, Jamar, what do you want to do? Or Jamar, what do you think? Should we leave this be, or do you need to blah, blah, blah? And sometimes in there, I have to, or I may need to like do some art fixes.
Hmm.
So that's one of the cool things about working digitally is, probably like by the end of one of these passes, I have like 20 pages I need to like touch again. So I kind of go back into the PSDs, do the changes, and I re-upload them, and they're like great, and then they drop in. Blah, 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 blah.
That's great. Is the
So go ahead.
what's an example of a common tweak you have to make to something? Is it a continuity thing? Is it a clarity thing? Where do you...
Jamar, Leon has 6 fingers in this panel.
Okay. Okay.
Please fix.
Right.
So like we were talking about AI last week. I think I'd make my own AI, but just by like, shit, how many fingers did I draw? So yeah, they're like little things like that. And when you are sitting down and like inking a billion things, it all kind of turns into not like a blur, but you're looking at the clock, you're trying to get this done, you're trying to keep your line,
Right.
you're trying not to rush,
Sure.
but you need to get it done. These are all the full-time cartoonist things that we talk about, behind closed, not behind closed doors, but it's like everybody that thinks this is just like funny, happy, fun time, that's the work. Where it's
Right.
4 a.m. and I got to turn in these things by, 8 o'clock in the a.m. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's the real shit right there. So, but anyway, a lot of it are just kind of like maybe inconsistencies, or like there's an artifact here. Do you want to get rid of that? And like a lot of you don't do this, but a lot of cartoonists that I seem to follow or mimic do a lot of, and there's like a cartoonist term for it, like put noise on their work, like Mobius, like little like hashes or little like
Mhm.
little dashes on the artwork just to break it up.
Sure.
And I remember working with some publishers who weren't used to that kind of cartoonist language, and like there's like I don't know, is that are those crumbs? Like
Can you
why
clean that up? Can you clean that up? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
can you clean these things? I'm like, no, that's like some show business. I'm put on there a little they don't know what that
Mike
is.
Mignola. Okay, can
Yeah.
you? I noticed there's some little, you haven't quite completely inked in every square inch. Those little bits of dust. Can you fix that?
Yeah, there's dust on the. There seems to be a crunching noise on the track.
Uh,
So sometimes some of that stuff doesn't register, or that's really it. Like because there's so many steps in the process. By the time I get to the actual pages, all that other stuff has been worked out. Because I've turned in several iterations of the visual script, and I've done thumbs for the whole book like 9 times. And the thumbs are pretty not super fancy, but they're enough that you get what's going on and where things are
right.
placed. So like it's like, oh, maybe this should be 2 panels instead of 5. Like that's been worked out already. That's like month 5 or something like that
Right.
in the process. So did I answer your question, Steve?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, so now what do you start? What's the next phase?
What's next? So okay, so the next phase of this, now that it's going to print, is like that's great. Take a breath. As far as Scholastic is concerned, it's going to be and maybe quiet for a little bit, and then at some point we start the marketing and promotion side of this. That's when we start talking about promoting the book, marketing the book. Hopefully, well, I'm saying hopefully, I think there should be. There's a tour. There's like I'm going on tour for every one of these books and planning that out. And I'm gonna have to go to New York. Hopefully, I like going to New York. So anytime they say, "Can you come to the mothership, aka Scholastic headquarters?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be there," and have a sit down with marketing and the people from trade and my agent and all and the publicist. It's very cool. And you sit there and kind of hash out they show me the slide deck. This is what we're projecting for this thing, and it's a whatever city tour and this and these people have asked for you, blah, blah, blah. What can you do? You have blackout dates the next couple months because we need this, that, and the other. And you hash all that out, and then that happens. So maybe as far as what I'm working on right now, I'm kind of putting together some new pitches for some new projects. I have nothing to talk about yet, but it's all very, very in the early stages, and we'll see what happens. And also, I'm excited about what happens next with Scholastic. There's a lot of stuff coming up, and I'm not done yet. There's a million things to do. So, and also one of the things I love, I hope I'm not talking too much. One of the things I love about this life that we're living, Steve, is that every day you wake up and you check your email, you have no idea what's going to be there, right?
Oh,
And so,
that's very true.
and sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes it's like, oh, but that's like this is over. This sucks. This failed. This door is closed. You don't ever close doors in this business.
Right.
You always keep the window cracked a little bit, just get some air in. You never know. So thanks for that, Steve. I hope I answered your question. If anybody has other questions about the traditional book publishing world, I'd love to answer it.
Is there a time frame where you think the tour will happen? Is it the weeks leading up to the release? Is it when the release happens?
Yeah, generally, because if you remember, and that I'm always excited to talk about, when the other Leon books have come out, they've always come out in October. And, and you've always been such a
10-4, 10-10. Do we have all those?
Yeah, 10-4, good buddy. And I was really on that. This one's a little different. It's coming out in January. It's a whole different season. Because in traditional book world, everything's kind of like the lists happen on a season. There's the fall releases. Here's the summer releases. This is for beach reads. All that kind of stuff. These are So now I think I'm in winter.
Mm.
So there's a whole different promotion thing for that. It's new to me because all my stuff has happened in the fall. And it's usually like you said, like probably like a month leading up to the release of the book. And then there's kind of like the push through like the first month or two. And then other kind of ancillary things happen around that. So like the hot time is before it actually comes out. And then once it comes out, I've been lucky enough that on the actual, what they call your book birthday, which is usually always a Tuesday in this world, I've been somewhere doing something for it. That's not really in the cards. Nobody's like, oh, it comes out on January 5th. We have to put you. It doesn't really work that way. You know what I mean? But it's just, it's cool to be able to say, I'll be at, the Strand bookstore on the release day of my book, because there's an incentive there if you want it to happen that way. Thanks, Steve. I don't want to like eat up all the time, so we do have some questions, guys. Thanks so much, and also thank you so much for keeping our numbers up because I know the NBA finals are happening right now.
Oh,
right. And now I just jinxed us. Now everybody's gonna leave and go watch the Knicks. But I've said this before in the period. Remember the lockdown, Steve? Remember that?
Vaguely.
Remember that? Like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? and everybody was like addicted to like these Instagram like events. Remember that people were like, "Oh, at 8 o'clock on Friday, so and so is going to be in a live in the Guitar Hero chats going like that." And I remember we were doing this. I think like it was like Blev, Mike, and I, or I was doing coffee break, and like say I'm doing coffee break, and like halfway through it, somebody would show up like, "Oh man, sorry I'm late. I was watching this versus like I don't know, Ja Rule versus like DMX or something." I was just like, Busta Rhymes isn't going to shout you out in the chat room. They're not going to go, "Yo, what up, Stone Cold Steve Colley?" Busta Rhymes ain't doing that for you. You need to figure out where your bread's buttered. You come hang out on pencil to pencil. The Knicks ain't going to shout you out. Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. Anyway, we have some questions. Comic fan who walks says, "Do you wake up early to draw? Generally, what is your habitual practice?" Steve, why don't you start, and then I will follow
My day starts slow.
Mm.
I've spent the last couple of years trying to get a better work-life balance, and that means starting my day uh, with family and not being buried in my iPad immediately. So I try to start off that way, have some couple of cups of coffee, and then
A couple.
a couple, yeah, and then it is getting to work, and whether that is handling shipping, handling emails, generally taking care of things that aren't necessarily drawing. And my drawing will start probably around noon, and then it is working until like around 9 o'clock, and then uh, moving on to other things, whether that's sometimes in the middle of that. It's not consistent every day. Sometimes I have to do writing because I do the game design work as well, and that requires basically shutting out the world and writing. The same thing goes when I'm writing my comics. I have to shut out the world to write. I basically put on a soundtrack or something else that is not lyrical in any way. It's just pure music, and cut out the world and just write. But drawing can happen in a much more open place. I can have the TV on, or as long as it's not like Taskmaster or something that just grabs my attention and won't let go. And then until around 9 o'clock, and then after that, I'll still might be 3D modeling something. And then when it's time to go to bed, I will be in bed and I'll still be writing, in the quiet. I'll get another hour's worth of writing in
the still of the night.
And then,
what time do you normally kind of lock it down? Like, do you have a bedtime, or do you just kind of like fall asleep in your chair?
I try midnight, try 1 a.m. I try. Because if I let it go, I will go to 3. I'll go to 4, and then things get messed up.
4 is the witching hour, man.
Well, it's mostly because of things like the karate I do is like 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. That keeps me a little more sensible, and also conventions like Heroes Con this weekend. I've got to hit the road early tomorrow, and so had I been doing that, had I been treating myself that poorly, I would not be prepared to drive tomorrow. So
because you have to think about, you have to kind of like pace out the week, right? It's like, because you're prepping for a show. Can you add that to this conversation about when you also have travel, or you have to like start putting the widgets together to get to a show?
What are you bringing? What are you packing? How are you packing? How are you getting it from the hotel to the convention center? How many trips is it going to be? What is this convention is different than the other convention, and how you have to treat that differently? And what happens if you're stuck in traffic for an extra 3 hours? How do you have, what's your plan B and plan C? And just making sure all those things are ready so you can hit the road when you want to. And then getting all the work that you have to get done, all the emails you have to send, so clients and everybody else knows that you won't be available for a couple of days. And tons of stuff like that. It's part of it. It's one of the reasons why I want to do fewer conventions. I love doing them, but it's losing 2 days to travel is very costly. So I understand why the Comic Lab guys are so opposed. I get that. But it's a trade-off, and I do like doing the conventions. I do like Heroes Con Baltimore. I like Gamehole Con in the gaming world because it does recharge my batteries and I can make some money. But but I could be also making, setting up a whole new crowdfunding campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and that would bring in more money and create more inventory. Because I mean, all of this is about creating your library of work. It's everything
Mm-hmm.
is about. Initially, a lot of my promotions, as a kind of sidebar, initially a lot of my promotion was stuff that was kind of very ephemeral. It would just go away. It's like basically shouting or like an ad. It's might be great, but no one's going to know it 3 days from now. Whereas I really feel like all my time, the best use of my time is creating something that'll last.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. And I'm always kind of like, I don't know, like blowing this trumpet about how, like, how much of a tangled bag of extension cords doing this is as a career and a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle at this point. And it almost sounds like, well, you make it sound like it's not fun. Like, what are you talking about? Why do you think it's fun? Like, I love what I do. Don't ever get me wrong. This is the only thing I ever wanted to do, even when I was a kid. But there's a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot of building a plane while you're flying it. There's a lot of just kind of like blind faith. There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's so much, and I wish I could say that the my day was just like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and draw. That's the good part, when you can actually sit down and draw. The rest takes up the pie, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was an Orson Welles quote about had the he had the access to the greatest. I think he said art supplies. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, greatest tool set in the world, but he has to spend 90% of his time hustling, and that feels real. That feels like. But there was some tension there. I heard this like in one of our AI episodes, because I was basically saying AI takes away a lot of the fun of creativity, but people are like, well, it's not all. This isn't all fun. I think there's a lot of tension between the notion of we're doing this because we love it and because it is fun. And there are fun aspects to it. Going to this convention, if I could teleport there, it would be fantastic.
Right. We got to finish building that space bridge for you. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Because being behind the table, and I do feel like conventions are a great way to grow your audience in a way that social media no longer provides.
Right. Right.
But man, I really feel like as much as this work it is, I do think it's equal parts fun and making money. Because if it wasn't and work, because if it was just about making money, we picked the wrong thing.
Yeah, I could be digging ditches and anyway, I'll leave that go. Let me try to take a stab at this question. I think what Steve said, I'm going to mirror some of it. I think the schedule is predicated by when you went to bed the night before.
Hmm.
I'm always fighting with myself to keep a sleep schedule. I'm horrible at it. I'm horrible at it. And one thing that I've been doing in I guess you'd say my personal life, and I say personal life meaning like the people that orbit my life. It could be family, close friends, all of that, neighbors, things like that. Is I don't want people to only react to me when I'm like, what is it, the Sylvester GIF where he's like smoking a cigarette and drinking the coffee, he's like jittery. I think that's what people think you have to be busy. Oh, leave Jamar alone. He's on deadline. Can't you see him pacing back and forth in the backyard, pulling his hair out? Like that means you're busy.
Right.
But we're always busy, right? And that's why I like these kind of conversations. But anyway, so when I am like like the water's over my head, that kind of changes the temperature of my month or my week or my 5 days. If something isn't like burning on fire hot, needs to be done the next day or something like that, I will try to get up, walk the dog, have your starter cup of coffee, then you have the next cup of coffee, and that's really when things start moving. And I don't know if you talked about this. I have office hours. I gave myself office hours because in my old life, like I worked, I ran a departmental office of a university campus and an art gallery and all this kind of stuff. I'm used to the structure of being at your thing at X o'clock and being done at another o'clock. I don't really honor the turn off the lights, go home part very well, but my standing office hours are 10 to 6. Sometimes I think I should put that on my email,
Mm.
so people kind of respect that. But I don't really need to get into all of that. And so like that before 10 o'clock, I'll try to do some other stuff, like I'll try to do some house stuff, or make some phone calls or like whatever. But I'm never really awake enough or cogent enough to like I'm going to get up at 8 and go to the dry cleaners and then go run some. That all happens at the end of the day when I'm rushing and shit's about to close, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the dry cleaners. It's like they close at 7, and it's like 6:52.
Uh-huh.
That's that all winds up over there. But anyway, so a lot of it is just like trying to balance like the outside world with what's at my desk. And I try to take breaks. I have lunch, and that's really important too. That you're eating, because when you're like in it, you
Mhm.
might look up and it's like 4:30 and you haven't eaten anything.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And also, we used to talk about this all the time. Also, I hope that you're showering, Steve Conley, because when you're like, shout out to the chat. You know what I'm talking about. When you've been on deadline for like 2 weeks, and it's like,
Oh, I can't start my day unless I do that. I'm stuck that way. I also kind of have to wear shoes. I'm like
you got to
it's a
get
weird.
dressed. You got to get dressed. You got to get dressed to go to work.
Yeah, I can't work in pajamas. I
I,
don't know. There's
I,
something about that.
I can't work under these conditions. So, but anyway, what I'm getting at is that I try to structure my day, and then things just kind of fall apart as they go. I I used to have more of after I quit my day job. I used to have more of a I needed like this fallback to normalcy. Like I'm going to meet up with some buddies from the old job for lunch every Thursday, and then that started to just like fall away. Not that I don't love my buddies, but it was just like I got I have too much work to do, and I got to get these leftovers eaten before they go bad. So I'm gonna just, I'm gonna just stay here. America's Tom Zoller checking in. He's 4.5 apples high. Socks. I have to have socks. That used to be the last piece of clothes we put on when going to school. So it's what sets my brain to work more. You got to put on pants. But yeah, if anybody wants to ask more questions about the day, I can totally do that. This is already interesting, Steve Conley. Let's go to the next question. What up, Uncle Mike? He's got two. Hold on. I think this one was first. In recent years, there's been what seems to me an increase in controversial instances of various creators speaking out against the industry or each other or etc. Okay, gotcha. So my question is, do you feel that the instant access creators and fans share is it benefits or has it hurt the industry? Ooh, let me go. One of the byproducts of having this, I'm just going to keep saying lifestyle, career, whatever, is you're kind of, unless you work in a studio system, you're kind of sitting there by yourself for long stretches of time. And I know some people get a little loopy,
Hmm.
right? Um, Depends on where you kind of started or where you're at in your journey. I know with a lot of the kind of like I like to call them the bullpen guys. I don't want to call them the old timers, not to be an ageist, but it's kind of like when the system was Mike talks about it every week. When you live in New York and you go to Marvel and you run into Jim Shooter in the elevator and he gives you that world, right? If you're from that or what have you, I think you kind of have a different distance between the fans,
Hmm.
right? Because then, like back then, you may go to like a hotel, well, a hotel banquet room con, and just see dealers and a couple of people dressed like Red Sonja, and that was kind of it. Now we're in this 24/7 churn of people. What is the thing they call it, Steve, when you feel like you know somebody because you like
parasocial
a lot of parasocial relationships here, and I think they're good, and I think there's kind of like toxic parts of that. And one of those things, especially with some of the old timers who I see are always like on the firing line these days because they said some wild shit, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, how could he?" I think a lot of those guys have a different angle on fandom because and I'm just kind of spewing this. I think a lot of these guys never had to, and Steve, you know what I'm talking about, had to do hand-to-hand book sales. And you have a different relationship with your audience because you sold them a book in 1999. Hey, Steve, remember I met you at SPX and I bought your thing and I've been with you the whole time. Hey, thanks, Monica. But a lot of other people didn't have that closeness. So they could just say these things because they're not hurting anybody, because they don't know anybody, because they're just like names or whatever somebody wrote to the Marvel, letters page. And like, what does that even mean? But now everybody has these echo chambers where, say it doesn't matter who you are, say you're, Joe Blow, Marvel superstar, and everybody on your page or your forum or your Instagram are there to go, yes, Joe Blow, I love everything you've ever done. Show us more. So you can say whatever the hell you want, and they're going to go, yeah, that's great. So I think there's a point where that takes over and you get a little loose. And just kind of say wild shit, and no one's going to check you because everybody's agreeing with you anyway. It's kind of like a yes man thing.
Right.
And I think that's why you're starting to see all these hot takes from people where it's just like, well, no one ever told me I was wrong. You guys agree with everything I say. So I'm just going to say, like, even how like John Byrne used to be known for being really abrasive and salty. And his fans were called burn victims.
Right.
You remember that?
Sure.
And it's like, oh, he's just like that. I love it. Also, people love hot takes. I've said a million times that I think our numbers would be in a totally different place if one of us was a bad guy.
I'm about to do a heel turn.
Yeah, if Steve Connolly, well, you're already wearing black. If Steve Connolly did a heel turn and just started wearing sunglasses and had like dyed shit black, it would just cursing everybody out, our numbers would triple. Because people just like hot takes. They want, as much as it sounds crazy, people want that. This is boring. You guys aren't making any conflict, or everybody's nice to each other. Ugh. I want to see a basketball fight at 9:30 or NBC. So anyway, that's kind of what I think. And does it benefit the industry? No. Does it hurt? Yes. I also think we're in an age where there used to be kind of like in pro wrestling, there used to be kayfabe. There were things that you as a professional just don't need to put out in public. Not like there's some deep, dark closet secret, but it's just like, you don't need to know that. And I don't need to be talking about it. We don't do that here. We don't submarine people. We don't talk hot about people because what's the point? I just think that hurts your legacy to do stuff like that. I'm sorry. I'm talking so much, Steve. I'm loving this episode. What about you? What do you think?
I'm not as aware of controversies that Tio Michael may be mentioning. I'm trying to think about in the context, an increase in controversial instances of various creators speaking out against the industry or each other. I don't generally don't have the bandwidth for that. I've got a lot of friends in comics, and often my question is, oh wait, is this person a bad guy or a good guy? I don't have the playbook in front of me. I don't know who the bad guys are or the good guys at any given moment, and it seems like there's heel turns right and left. So but I'm in my little corner of the internet. I do my webcomic, I do my stuff. Comic conventions, there's people who know me at those, and then I could get introduced to someone and say, oh yeah, this guy's been drawing Batman for a year. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. I haven't seen your work before. I'm kind of in a corner. I'm really happy over here. I'm not as happy as my buddy Marty Bowman, who we want to get on the show, who Pixar artist Marty Bowman. He was not online at all, and he's very happy. But I don't. Has it benefits access to fans and creators? I think it's a net benefit because it didn't exist before, and I wish it had. I wish there was an archive of conversations with Walt Kelly that I could listen to. I wish there were archives of, Dr. Seuss that I could listen to, or Alex Raymond, or Wally Wood, or all these other creators. I wish there were archives like that.
I mean, there's some stuff, but it's not that great.
No, but has it hurt the industry? It's probably in some way. But I think the industry is such a fractured thing that, again, there's webcomics we've never heard of and whose creators are living nice, successful lives, and our paths have not crossed. So it's because it's so fractured and so diversified. I don't think it hurts. I think the thing is, if anything, it should teach creators to be better.
Can I touch this one more time? Because I think
please. I also don't want to dilute the hot take.
No. Because I kind of got in my bag, and I kind of stopped reading to Michael's question. I think the instant access is great until it isn't. And I think that goes back to the parasocial thing. I can only speak for myself. I love having a community. I love kind of like just having a sharing thing with people who get you and get your work. I think, and it may not be a million people. It may be not that magic 500 fans or whatever that number used to be that made everything gravy. Once you hit this number of people that like and buy your work. But, I like my little pocket of the internet, but I also know that, it's easy to kind of get this access to your favorite artist and then kind of feel like you're in the business too. I say that a lot.
Is that a bad thing?
If it's stalling out your own work, yeah. But maybe
there was a culture of, because of the way the business and industry was set up for so long, where it could be an old boys club where you could succeed by who you know. I feel like there's still some of that for sure, but it's not. But I think it's less that, and I think that's a good thing. I think, but the idea that people still think, oh, if I go into this community and I rub shoulders enough, I will succeed. And it, like you just said, if it gets in the way in the work, because at the end of the day, you have that. If you can't deliver, if the work isn't great, and we know people who are present and who are not present currently, but who are just they're involved in their communities, whatever the field it is, whether it's role playing games or comics or animation, they are there and in the mix, but they're not producing. And it's got to start with the work.
And I also think the idea of the hookup, not like hooking up like in the backseat of a car hookup, but like somebody, my association with someone else opened doors for me. That's kind of the part of the business, but it's also what you do with it, right? Because know that just because somebody vouched for you and said, hey, listen, I got a guy, he's great, give him a shot, and then you totally drop the ball and shoot everybody in the room in the foot on your way out, comes back and hurts you in the long run.
Yeah, and then you're gone. And then you are gone, because it's a very cynical outlook. It can be accurate, but it's a bad lens to look at things. But so much of my internet, we start off talking about that, how you said about not burning bridges, about keeping those windows open a crack. If you deliver, 5 years from now, someone's going to contact you. Hey, can you deliver again? And if you fail to deliver, you basically, every time you fail to deliver, you have cut off a future. A whole timeline of potential opportunities vanishes the second you don't deliver.
I think it used to be worse. Like, talking about our bullpen buddies. Like there were kind of like on the spots. Oh, you know what? This guy was supposed to come in and do a fireman gig, like finish, these 15 pages in a weekend, and he didn't get it done. He's done,
Right.
right? You didn't get a lot of second chances in that system,
Right.
right? And they still talk crap about people, like the war stories that Mike likes to talk about,
Sure.
like racing to the FedEx. But like, there's instances where somebody got a shot and they didn't hit it out of the park.
Mm.
And then they wonder why people don't return their phone call. Or they go to the show and everybody kind of like looks at their feet when they walk by the tape. That's part of that's the sinister part of being in a very small industry. Everybody knows you screwed up that gig.
Right. And it's like the idea of like trying to hit that number of 500 people. It's like you don't alienate 500 people because those could have been your 500 people.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Thanks to you, Michael. That was a really cool question, and we could keep digging in it, but I want to get to some of these before we run out of time, Steve. It's almost an
Oh my
hour
goodness.
in. So hold on. I saw something here. Speaking of that, our buddy Tristan says, I feel unbelievably lucky to have the access to you guys and the dude, Steve Rude. It has helped me as a creative, and if I can give back. Well, I appreciate that, Tristan. And, I don't want what we're talking about to sound like it's some sort of transaction or some sort of grift. It's like, I think everything in life is you get what you put into it. You know what I mean? And I think people who kind of fall out the back of the station wagon are missing part of that. Well, I thought, and this didn't happen. I thought if I hung around with Steve and bought him a coffee every Heroes Con that he'd get me a gig. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work that way. But like if you can figure out how to make your stuff work and for you also to stand on your own feet once you get in the door, all the power to you.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the next thing. Leon fan 2099. Look at that. I've got fans. Pause. Love that Doom you drew a few weeks back. Thanks. Question: where did the ideas for you guys villains come from? Steve, you want to take that? Where do you get your villains for your stories from?
They are my stories are written from the point of, basically from plot. I have this kind of ending of what I want the story to go, and I try to create somebody who will stand in the way of that. What is the best, most difficult challenge for the hero to overcome to get to where they need to go? So I get to draw that ending that I have in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it comes from. And usually it's also someone who is diametrically opposed to the hero, at least in some way. Not a total mirror universe version,
Mm-hmm.
but someone who holds, at least philosophically, a different view of things. One person who thinks you get what you create, the other person says, thinks you get what you take. And those, just even that simple kind of conflict can change how each character approaches everything. And so usually I'm trying to find a filter through which I can view that character's worldview. And like, it can be something as simple as saying that they use the word I in everything they say. Something as simple as that. And that gives them a character. And after that, if you're talking about designing powers or ensembles or something like that, again, it's just whatever the story requires.
Yeah, I think the plot has a lot to do with my answer too. And again, it's all to support the story, right? It's all to support your main character, right? Your protagonist, right? What's the yang to this character's yang? If your main character has all of these things, it just makes interesting drama if somebody who diametrically opposes that. And you put those two forces together and see what happens. and a lot of my stuff kind of comes from a kernel of like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if, or wouldn't it be cool if, or oh,
Mhm.
this is is it Leon in space in this one, or is it Leon in Atlantis this time? You know what I mean? And sometimes it just feeds into that, but really it just kind of comes down to who do you think, or what do you think would make your character sweat?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And what would kind of what's a good challenge, right? Because we're trying to just challenge our characters. If everything went well, like what's the point of reading this? And if you want to hear my hot take, I might everybody's gonna after the Knicks game, we still kept people. I'm gonna lose them after this. That's why I never really liked Superman. I'm not a Superman guy because I just felt like why would I want to read a Superman comic? He could do everything.
Hmm.
And even like some of the main villain, like what was it, Doomsday or whatever that dude was, like the guy with the bone sticking out of his neck.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I like characters with faults. I'm a Peter Parker Spider-Man. I'm a Spider-Man guy.
Mhm.
Peter is always on the edge of everything falling down.
Yeah.
You know that Parker luck. It's real.
Can't
And
catch a break. Yeah.
can't catch a break. And those are always compelling stories. So there you go. Thank you, Leon. Oh, did you have anything to add to that, Steve? Or
No,
we good
I
with
love that. I love it.
Okay. Um, so also, this is interesting. Here's a good one. Our good buddy Kevin McCluskey. Hey, Kevin. I'm gonna have to Kilroy this. Question, Jamar. I see you'll be at ALA in Chicago at the end of June. Yes, I will. Do the National Cartoonist Society dues pay off in respect to getting to showcase your work there? Asking as someone who was popped for an artist alley table. Well, that's an interesting question, Kevin. And for anybody that doesn't really know what he's talking about, as I talk about here all the time, that I am part of the NCS. And let's see your card, Steve. Pull it out. Pause. And what a really cool thing that's been happening over the last couple of years is that we're now partnering with the ALA to have NCS members exhibiting on they call it the marketplace, or like the show floor at ALA. So Kevin's question is basically like, if are the dues I'm paying, does that pay off in having access to these things? Now, I mean, again, it goes back to one of my earlier things where I said it's kind of you get what you put in. And I always kind of come up against this wall when people ask me about NCS stuff. I got to take this off the screen. I'm going to keep talking, Kevin. When people ask, well, what do I get out of this? Right. I say it all the time. It's kind of a sticking point. So what do I mean, like, I don't know, do I get like a discount at the Applebee's or something? Like, what do I get out of it? And no disrespect to Kevin. I'm just trying to make some fun with the question. And yes, one of the cool things is that the NCS has spaces at a lot of things around the country, and it's growing. ALA was not on the plate before I kind of helped create that relationship. I didn't do that for that. I'm just saying. But thanks, Steve. They have a really strong presence at C2E2. They have a really strong presence at San Diego Comic-Con. They have a really strong presence. I think there's a Florida show. I'm not exactly sure, Steve. You might know more about that. And a lot of those things are, hey, if you're interested, let us know. And I don't. It's not on my board seat to kind of track who's where and doing what. But I want to think if you're a go-getter and you see an opportunity that you might want to try it. I think some of those things are like, well, if you're coming to the show, you can get table space, but they're not going to pay for your ticket, or your badge or whatever.
Right.
So it's still an opportunity. Like, how many, if you had the opportunity to table at San Diego Comic-Con, and NCS was offering,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it just seems like a positive to me. I think if you feel like it doesn't pay, it's because you're not using it. It's kind of like paying for your Netflix, but you don't watch it. It's nobody's fault. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad a bad way to wrap that up. I don't know, Steve. How do you feel about your NCS membership?
Geographically, I'm not in a great location for an NCS membership, but I mean, it'll be 10 years, and I think this is my 8th year as a member. I signed up. I signed up, I think, because I had moved down to Florida. I felt adrift in the comics
Mm,
community.
mhm.
I had been in the Washington D.C. area, which is lousy with, it's thick and lousy with cartoonists, and and part of it was that the middle age had taken off at that
Yeah.
point,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm a cartoonist now. I think I said that a while ago. Like the middle age, after working in comics for 25 years, and drawing stuff like Star Trek and things like that, I didn't feel like a cartoonist till the middle age came out,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm going to join this organization, uh, but I don't know if I need to make money back on everything that I invest in. I feel like if I donate books to Goodwill or to the local library,
Yes.
not necessarily my books. I don't need. I feel like the National Cartoonist Society does good work, and so by me uh, paying my dues, I do think there's an opportunity once in a while if I'm at the San Diego Comic Con, like if again when I got an Eisner nomination, I had the opportunity to spend some time with the NCS folks. If I'm up in New York, I would do the exact same thing, but I it's also a business expense. I just know I'm just going to write this off as my
Mhm. Mhm.
professional organization. I
Yeah.
do wish the NCS. I do like what you're doing with the NCS. I do like the leadership of the NCS does think about this question. I would love if there were things like, I don't know, membership benefits. I don't think you're going to compete with the ARP just yet, but I don't mean to say you. I think we're going to
I know.
compete.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to compete with the ARP just yet, but I do think it'd be cool if there was a discount at Mixum or
Mhm.
Ingram Spark. But I feel like I feel like the board of the NCS is thinking about that stuff. So there are benefits, and it's an organization worth giving money to. And there's different tiers. They have, like, if you're 27 and under, I think it's just $27 a year.
Mhm.
So they have wonderful programs like that. So do check it out.
And kind of last part of this, and Kevin asked specifically about ALA, but it's what I kind of love about the NCS is just kind of again a community, right? And kind of going back to this thing, all I ever wanted to do was be a cartoonist. When I heard about the NCS, like in the '90s, I was like, "Holy crap! There's a society of cartoon. I want to be
Right.
right. Why wouldn't you? Why would you bristle against something like that?
Right.
But times have changed, and now I know that there are a lot of people. And I'm not speaking about Kevin, but I know there are a lot of people like, "Oh, well, I don't see why I should give you my." Why should I?
Right.
Who are you guy? What? I don't want to join a cult. Whatever people say about being in things, right?
Yeah.
Because it all kind of goes back to your personality, what your expectations are out
Right.
of something that wasn't kind of planned for you to. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
also, I think a big part of it is chapter affiliation. Also,
Yeah.
I think if you live in an area where the chapter, like I said, I'm the chapter chair of Philly. There's a lot of strong chapters all over the East Coast, and you affiliate. What that means is you can join the NCS.
Yeah.
Great. I think where it starts to pay off is when you affiliate with a chapter. It's not a given. It's not immediate. You have to tell us, "Hey, I would like to throw in with Long Island." You know what
Right.
I mean? I live in New York. I'd love to do the Manhattan chapter.
Right.
And then you are part of this group of local cartoonists who I hope that they're active, they meet, they have things. Like just last Sunday, I took the Philly chapter into Chinatown in Philly, and we had Peking duck. It was amazing, and everybody was like, "Yo, this is great. This food's delicious." I saw Brad Geiger. What up, Brad? You know what I'm saying? And that's great. There's good vibes, and we talk business and about other opportunities that may happen for the chapter. That community, that getting out of the house, that being able to have an email chain with other working cartoonists to commiserate with, I think is way past a dues fee.
Yeah, I see Super D's comment here, and I do think that's a realistic question, though. That let me put that up on the screen here. Um, I can totally get what you guys mean, but 200 upfront membership is a tough pill to swallow for most of those who don't know how to invest in that. I totally get that. I do
Yeah.
think for me, after a few years in Florida, the chair was stepping down. They said, "Hey, would you like to step in?" And I'm like, it's too spread out here. If it's a Florida chair, a Florida group, I'm 7 hours away from some members in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
It's just too spread out.
Yeah.
But there are things that I think the organization, if you signed up and you got $500 worth of downloadable PDFs for signing up, I'll throw the middle age into the ring if you want to download a PDF of the middle age. I mean, there might be things that we can do that can, sweeten the pot. But but I do think it's something that if it fits you at this time, great. If it doesn't, you can benefit so much even if you can't become a member. That's also another thing. They have tons of programs that are free for everybody to watch. So get on the mailing list. There are plenty of Zoom things.
I run one. Do the open house every other month. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm not. Go ahead.
It's just so there's plenty of free things, even if you choose not to be a member. So
right. So let me just finish my thread about the affiliation thing. So if you join, great. But your thing really starts to unlock once you affiliate with the chapter, and then that all happens. I understand the price thing. When I signed up for all of this NCS stuff, I said I was never going to be a shill for this. Nobody's paying me to talk about this stuff. I believe in it, and I understand if it's not in the cards. I get that, and you take that accordingly. Maybe later when your things change, consider it or don't. You know what I'm saying? But it exists and it's there. And I think, and I don't really know how to talk about this because I hadn't really thought about it, but if it was cheaper, what does that mean besides it's cheaper? You know what I mean? This kind of turns into a conversation. I'm trying to be conscious of the time, where when we first started out, and I would hear people say, "Hey, you know what? I really want to exhibit at this show, but the tables are $50. Are they crazy? They're $50." And I'm like, it comes down to me for there's a price to play, whatever that price is. Either you pay it or you don't pay. I'm not going to argue about how much things cost. Either you can do it or you can't do it. And no one is right there. I don't know if that makes sense. What we're talking about. I'm not defending anything.
I think so. I just think it was I've heard the question a lot, and it was the first question I asked when I joined. You get a copy of the magazine. I'm like, well, this could be a catalog with all of our information, and don't mail it to me, mail it to art directors. There's lots of things like that can be more like you gain a specific financial benefit. You're going to double your investment. There's things like that. But I think sometimes a professional organization is just a professional organization.
Yeah.
But it's hard to argue versus, this spending money here versus in other Hero Initiative or CBLDF. I've been members of both of those as well. They're not necessarily for the benefit to recoup anything on that.
Right.
It's to help. It's just to promote the organization and keep it going.
But all that said, everything we've just talked about in even Dee's question and Kevin's question make a lot of sense, and I will bring those things up. And we've been talking about things like that for a long time. It's just how do we modernize this? How do we make it have value to the new members? So thanks for that. It's great. All right, let's see. Tio Michael, again, when you're knee deep in a current project, do you schedule time to workshop other ideas, either within the series or another project altogether? Steve?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's my solution for every time I hit a stumbling block in a story or a challenge drawing a particular panel or something like that. Switch gears. there's always other things, other plates spinning, other things I can do. My work is very diversified already. I do graphic design, book design, websites. So there's plenty of things for my uh, hands and brain to do. Um, but I've got tons of. I'm working on 2 or 3 other things right now, in addition to what I'm working on.
I think sometimes you do that just to break it up, right? Because it's like, you know, say doing all of Steve's projects, or you hunkering down to do a project that is due in a year and a half. Sounds very like spread out, but it can also be very granular. So if you have something to kind of divert your attention, not necessarily create a new project for yourself, because that's just you're just putting another plate on this dowel to spin, but
Sure.
just kind of like, what, I'm going to, what do you call it? Like do a reset your sniffer when you're in the candle store and you're sniffing a
Sure.
candle and they give you the coffee beans.
Uh-huh.
You just need to reset,
Cleanse your palate.
you
Yeah.
gotta cleanse your palate. That's exactly it. I just think, doing anything too much will kind of stagnate you. So so yes, I think we both do. Thank you, Tio Michael. Let's see. Fear Talking Sword says, really find my 35th favorite webcomic is my number one favorite. One, I like that. I used to have a really bad list when I was a kid. So it was my one favorite. Question: could we cop a 2027 middle age calendar? Does marketing outside of the book with products like that? Wait, are you are you talking to me or Steve? I guess we can do it for either of us. Does marketing outside of the book with products like that work, Steve?
Um, I think it can work. I definitely make ancillary products. I find that uh, as I mentioned earlier, wanting to make stuff that has a long shelf life. Calendars immediately don't. But I know David Peterson has success with those. I think he creates 12 original pieces of artwork,
Mm,
um, and then a calendar, and he's got people who collect those, and
yeah.
then I think he's got 12 original pieces of artwork to sell. I
Mhm,
think that it's definitely something that can work for a creator.
mhm,
I haven't done that,
mhm,
uh, but yeah, merch is essentially ancillary merch to your IP. I think is a good idea.
yeah. I agree. I like stuff. As you can attest by like
Sure.
stuff in the background of this thing. Um, and it's just it may just be like one more thing you have to juggle. You know what I'm saying? But if you have an audience that wants it, great. Like I know my old buddy Keith Knight has been doing a calendar since like the 90s. He does
Hmm.
it every year, and he mails them out, and people wait for the next calendar. And I stopped getting them because I don't have the wall space to hang it up anymore. But and some people really just like that, or being able to just kind of like turn the month and see a new thing by you, and it keeps you kind of in their focus in a different way than your work would do.
I do love the idea. I love the idea that I could actually plan my 2027 out and actually put that on the calendar that I sell. Like,
Yeah,
new episode. And here's the number of the episode that'll come out, and like just here's your calendar. Hold me to it.
I love
But
it.
also thank you for the very kind words about the middle age. That's very kind. Thank you.
And I used to, when I had a wall for that, you can't really put stuff on the brick wall, my comedy wall back there. Is I used to love the Life in Hell calendar, the Matt Groening calendar that
Mm,
used to come out of. I think they turned into the Simpsons calendar, but what I loved about it is like whoever's putting these things together, I don't know if it was Groening, put almost every day had some sort of weird factoid on it.
oh, that's great.
And one of my favorite ones is it was just like on a random day. It says, "Listen to Biggie, Beck, and Bjork today." Like it stings in the back of my head. Thanks, Fear, for talking swords. Kit Carrier says, "You guys rock. Positive vibes out to everyone." Question from my daughter: is Carlos Mike and are you Leon? Hearts. That's sweet. No, I'm not Leon. There's parts of my childhood that are very Leon focused, like growing up in a single parent household. My mother is very real. Also, that Leon has a disgustingly dirty room. I had the filthiest room when I was a kid. So that's also true. But Carlos is not Mike. If you read Worst Friends Forever, Mike has a cameo in Leon Worst Friends Forever. But Carlos is a real person. And when I was in art school, I met this guy, Carlos, who's still one of my best buds, who had a chipped tooth. And the girls used to say, Carlos, you'd be cute if you fix your tooth. And he was like, but it's like thing, I like it. And he's very charming, and he's just a great human. And he's also like, what a great cartoon characteristic. So I've always drawn Carlos in my comics and my cartoons, and it's really cool that I get to share uh, what is he like 10-year-old Carlos with the world. So, but yeah, and I there's a lot of my characters in the books that are drawn from people. They may not necessarily be a person, but there's hints, there's seasoning of people from my life in all the books. Thanks, Steve. How you doing? We're almost done.
Oh, we're doing great.
You guys, I could do this all day. Are you guys enjoying this episode? Put a like in the chat. Not put a like. Put a like on the YouTubes. Appreciate you. Just to catch up here, our buddy Bill Wist. What up, Bill Wist? Being a part of the SCBWI can also depend by what region you're in. Yes, and what a great conversation about all of this, about being in a professional organization. I think that's its own topic, right? So, and sometimes it's just for the networking and nothing else, or just to be even not talk about the NCS, but or to being taken seriously. I always like to kind of counter with something like when you go to the Javits Center in New York City, you're there for New York Comic Con, but guess what? Next Thursday, there's another show in town. They just changed the banner, and it's the same shit. It's just different people.
And also there was just to say one thing about jump to NCS again. There was they regularly will have sessions just talking about specific topics, and they bring somebody in, and then there's these breakout rooms, and they'll try to take this huge Zoom meeting of 150 cartoonists and put everybody in groups of 10. And I was in one, and I think I was just a fly on the wall while Sergio Aragones and Colleen Duran and Kathy Gustwite were just like talking shop. And I'm like, I don't know what that's worth, but that felt like it was worth my annual dues.
Yeah, and there was one, and I hosted this. It was this was a ticketed event, and you could have. I mean, you didn't have to be a member, but you still had to pay for the ticket. It was Show and Tell with Sergio. I don't know if you saw that one, but I did a virtual tour of Sergio's studio, and he got up. He was like, "Oh, wait, let me show you this, and here is this, and this." And what an amazing experience that was.
That's
he
great.
went to a room. It was just walls of Reuben Awards and Eisner Awards. Wow. And he was like, "Oh, I remember this, and this my good friend Osamu Tezuka did this Astro Boy for me." I'm like, "You're killing me! This is amazing!" And at the end of that thing, and I was just thinking, if you are a cartoonist of any sort, why are you not here right now watching this? Right? You told me you had Taylor Swift tickets. All right, don't get me started. All right, let's finish this up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us there, but it occurred to me as a bright spot in my membership.
It's easier. It's easy for me to derail things, and I hope you're enjoying this episode, you guys. Cruisin' Bill, what up, Cruisin' Bill? Cruisin' Bill says, "Would you ever do a crossover with Leon and another character's book from a different artist?" Sure, maybe. It sounds like fun. I think it's a little contractually complicated. You know what I mean? Because even though I own the rights for Leon, and I have my obligations with Scholastic, when I was just say like about self-publishing, I would just say yes, and we would just do that. Not to say that I can't do things, but there are meetings to have, and what's the ratio of X versus Z and all that other kind of stuff. So things get a little more complicated. But I never say never. Thanks, Cruisin' Bill. Last time for questions. We're going to start closing the door here, and thank you guys for all of your questions. We kind of answered all the questions, Steve. What? Let me see. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. So what kind of takeaways are we taking from today? I think it was interesting. We talked about a lot of studio stuff. We also
Mhm.
talked about memberships,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a nice little important part of this. On some of our deep dive episodes, like we talk about like what's your whatever pathway to be a professional cartoonist. And sometimes I'll get on my soapbox and talk about knowing the industry. Like, do you not necessarily trend chasing, but like, do you know the periodicals that your industry reads?
Mhm.
Do you know where to find out where the shaking and the moving is happening? If you don't, how are you in this industry? Like, I'm in traditional publishing. I have a subscription to Publishers Weekly. The
Right.
Publishers Weekly subscription is stupid expensive. I'll just say it out loud. I think it's like, I don't know, it's like $200 or something. Do I need it?
Right.
Is it more expensive to not have
Mm.
it? Ask yourself that. You know what I'm saying? So, and also we were just browsing about this. I texted Steve the other day. I was like, how much is your Adobe subscription? Adobe's like $100 a month. Do you need it? Or do you not? Is it more expensive to not have it? All
Right.
these things are the part of the iceberg of what it takes to be in this business. You know what I'm
But there,
saying?
but the, and but there are also things that you can do that don't cost anything. When I got started, it was being volunteering with Small Press Expo and helping out conventions in my area, things like that.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
involvement is good, and there's plenty of involvement that doesn't cost and it doesn't exploit you. It's just no, but it's
yeah,
just something to think about. Like
yeah.
a lot of these places will want volunteers just as cannon fodder. Uh, uh, but I do think getting involved is great in any community,
Right,
and
and
being here is great. So thank you.
yeah, thank you. And again, I'm not getting heated or anything, but it's just like there's just so many paper cuts that happen in any business, and I think when we just look at the surface of things, it's just like, oh well, it seems like I'm stuck with the money thing. But also what's really exploitative about our business is that people don't get paid enough.
Hmm.
Right? That's a whole other conversation. Let's not talk about Cad's wind nests and the AI episode last week. There's so many things happening and coming at you from all fronts.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it pays for you to be as educated as you can on the business that you're entering. However that shakes out, if there's a way you can save some coin, great. If you want to use GIMP to do your stuff, great. Everybody's using Canva now. Great. I don't know what a subscription for Canva. Like it's there's cost to keep the machine running is all I'm saying. I don't enjoy giving anybody my money. StreamYard costs money. All of this stuff costs money. So but anyway. Any other questions before we close this out? Um and Steve,
I just like to add patreon.com/Steve Conley.
yo, I got your Patreon on the thing, don't we? I know I have mine. Hold on, let's do that. So yeah, if you're thinking about community,
Talking about a membership.
talk, talk, talk about making it. Also, let's give one more 316 for you. Where's your stuff? Did you move stuff around in here? I can't find it.
I don't know how this works. But I did. I just let's sign up. I did get Billy Bat just came out. It is Naoki Urasawa's latest. It's been out for years, but it's finally got an English translation. You don't have to read bootlegs online like I suffered through. Again, even with the bootlegs, it was still fantastic. But the first volume came out. I can't recommend it highly enough. Billy Bat.
That's so cool, man. I always want to ask what we're reading, and sometimes I get really glib and say things like, "Who's got time to read?" But you know what I'm trying to read because I'm using the Hoopla app. That's free. Do you
That's
go to
great.
your library? Everybody in this room should have a library card.
Mhm.
That's real rap. But Hoopla is a digital like library thing, and you can loan out or what do you call it? Reserve or I guess whatever.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Technically,
borrow. Thank you. Borrow. Ebooks, music, movies. It's wild, and they also have
audiobooks.
audiobooks, and they also have comics.
Yeah.
So they have all the modern graphic novels and stuff. I'm trying to read GI Joe, the new Kirkman Skybound
Mhm.
stuff. He's in charge of a lot of stuff. They're calling it the Energon universe. It's really good.
Oh, that's great.
It's really good. So, but yeah, not everything costs money. I love to blow the trumpet for the library. Please use your library. Talking about community nowadays, that your library is kind of filling in a lot of gaps for your community. General purpose rooms. Even the library in my neighborhood, you can loan out like weed whackers, and there's like a pickleball set,
That's great.
and you can get planting seeds from the library.
That's right. That's right. And some have 3D printers. Some have whole maker setups depending on your community and their investment in the library.
That's so fantastic. So please, utilize your local library. Guys, we did it. We are out of time. As your producer in good standing, I like to keep us honest. We hit the hour 30-minute mark. I would love to thank you all for joining us live. If you are a fan of this, please, like I say every week, please like, subscribe, and hit the alert bell. Also, tell your people. Stop hoarding pencil to pencil. Stop acting like it's your thing that you like. Tell your mans in them. Go to the basketball court and go, yo, you watch a pencil to pencil?
Someone asks where you got your weed whacker from. Tell them pencil to pencil.
Yo, they got weed whackers at the library.
You plant some seeds in your yard, they bloom, and you say, where'd those come from? Pencil to pencil.
Pencil to pencil. That's right. So also, let me do a shout out for tomorrow, because you know what this every other Thursday means. It's did anything happen? It's coffee break with Jay. Yay! Man, you didn't think you'd ever be that close to my face, did you? So tomorrow on your same pencil to pencil channel, you can watch. Huh?
I think
Oh,
we're
yeah,
your
right. You can watch me drink a cup of coffee and run my mouth. And when I'm out of coffee, video over. That is a long-standing project that I do. It's very fun. It's got a big community. Join us 9 p.m. tomorrow for that. And make all your dreams come true. Thank you very much. And next week, I don't know what we're doing, but I don't know if we're going to get back to the deep dives, but we will talk about it, and you'll be the first to know when we figure it out. Guys, let's close this out. Thank you so much. Go watch the Knicks or whatever when we're done, but not yet. Guys, you know our new mascot, the Sorcerer Supreme, Paulie, Dr. Walnuts, says, hey, you know what, Stone Cold? Drostradamus predicted all of this. So I think it would be wise to listen to him, because he knows the outcomes in the future. And let's prepare by washing those Kirby hands. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stone Cold. We did it. And also on our way out, please do whatever you can do to further yourself. Whatever you have to do, take it a step at a day, a step at a time. Bite the elephant a bite at a time. Or however it is, whatever they say. Good night.